This is TWiT.
We've talked a couple times about Russia and laughed at the small size of the threats that the government is making to our social media or our Western social media companies when they're disobeying Roskomnadzor, the Russian authority that's going to say, okay, we want you to move all your servers into Russia to serve Russian citizens. And, and there have been some skirmishes, but, if it's, how many millions of rubles, it ends up being pocket change for any of these larger social media companies. Well, another instance of this, not Russian, but this case, the government of Pakistan has published some proposed stringent censorship rules governing online content that have Facebook, Google, and Twitter collectively threatening to pull up stakes and go entirely dark throughout the country of Pakistan.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This is known as the new regulations are known as Pakistan's, quote, Citizens Protection Against Online Harm rules for 2020. I've got a link to the actual rules in our notes for this episode. The rules laid out by the government of Pakistan give authorities the power to demand social media platforms remove any content they deem questionable within 24 hours. And to that end, Pakistan has proposed the creation of a national coordinator office to monitor the content of online services. Additionally, social media platforms must provide a way to prevent the live streaming of, quote, online content related to terrorism, extremism, hate speech, defamation, fake news, incitement to violence, and national security, unquote.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, that's...
Well, except they actually have to provide a means to do it. And so within 3 months of the new rules coming into play, companies such as Facebook and Twitter must also open up permanent offices in the country, establish one or more local servers to store data in Pakistan, and must also agree to, quote, remove, suspend, or disable access to such account online content of citizens of Pakistan residing outside its territorial boundaries and posts on online content that are involved in spreading of fake news or defamation and violates or affects the religious, cultural, ethnic, or national security sensitivities of Pakistan, unquote. I mean, that's what it says in the rules. The rules also give the government the right to block a social network if they refuse to comply or impose fines of up to 500 million rupees, which in this case is more than $50. It's approximately 6.9 million US dollars. So it's a penalty that has a bit of teeth. Anyway, those fighting for free speech online argue that such wide-reaching powers are designed to curb free speech and impose censorship. And notice that this is just the way this is written. It's that requests that are made must be honored. So they're not saying, Pakistan is not saying, we want you to use your best judgment. They're saying, we're going to give you a list, and within 24 hours, you must remove anything that we tell you we don't like. Facebook, Twitter, and Google are agreeing that this is curbing free speech and imposing censorship. Those three organizations are part of something known as the Asia Internet Coalition, the AIC, which is a trade association discussing issues surrounding internet innovation and regulation in the region. In response to Pakistan's proposed rules, this AIC group have replied, the rules as currently written would make it extremely difficult for AIC members to make their services available to Pakistani users and businesses. In other words, and there's been some explicit conversation to this effect, upwards of 70 million Pakistani residents could find themselves unable to access Facebook and Twitter and denied the use of any of Google's wide range of services, which are in wide use by businesses now around the world. The AIC response went on to add that, quote, AIC members recognize Pakistan's strong potential, but the sudden announcement of these rules belies the government of Pakistan's claims that it is open for business and investment, as no other country has announced such a sweeping set of rules. Pakistan risks becoming a global outlier, needlessly isolating and depriving Pakistani users and businesses of the growth potential of the internet economy. The AIC added that it wished to work with the government of Pakistan to come up with more appropriate solutions to online data and content management without risk of crippling of Pakistan's emerging digital economy. The New York Times, which first reported on this, noted that by threatening to leave altogether, the companies may be attempting to apply pressure, you think, to Pakistan's government to quickly rethink the proposed rules or face protests from the country's citizens and business owners when the services are withdrawn from the company. I'm sorry, from the country. Yeah. However, Pakistan is not alone. Last year, India also proposed a set of rules in the same vein, prompting the same concerns over free speech. India is expected to publish their guidelines soon. So we have a bit of a mess on our global hands. You know, our Western social media companies were created in a comparatively permissive and open environment of the United States, where we enjoy a great deal of freedom. But even here in the U.S., we're seeing increasing trouble with online hate speech, counterfactual content posted and posing as factual, and the fact that news is increasingly available from unvetted sources. And of course, we have the continuing encryption problem. So, you know, this is just, as I keep saying, Leo, a really interesting time.
It's challenging because we have notions of free speech that are unique to our country. We have the First Amendment. And, of course, we think this is all a really good idea, and we maybe deal with the consequences. I mean, there's free speech on Twitter. So I don't it seems like the height of arrogance to tell a country, well, no.
To impose our standards.
This is what we think, and you've got to do it this way. So it's challenging because at the same time, we do think free speech is a good thing. But I could see how a country might not, especially in the face of terrorism and fake news and hate speech and all of those things. We've got that stuff in spades on Twitter. And there's no... And you know, I sort of hail from a technically how do you pull it off perspective. I mean, so you have a country like Pakistan that says essentially is telling the purveyors of these services, we demand full right to censor the content you provide in our country. That's what how do
saying
you do it?
is,
right. But how do you
exactly.
Implementation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so you give them, so you set up in some office in the Pakistani government a portal that allows anything they wish to be blanked from delivery within Pakistan's borders. Okay, then I mean, I guess that's what you do. Or you decide we're not going to do that, and you withdraw your service. Well, it seems unlikely because these services are, you know, generating huge revenues for our Western social media companies. I would imagine that what's going to evolve is exactly that the governments are given full censorship rights of any content that they choose to censor within their borders to their people. And I would imagine in time, Facebook and Google and Twitter will kick and scream, but they will end up capitulating and be willing to be there in whatever content survives. And, if that happens, then, and there is strong censorship of content, then people who want to have their content not blocked are going to have to behave themselves, or, a very powerful censor is going to descend on them with both feet. So it'll be interesting to see how this happens. I mean, like how it goes. I really do wonder whether these, and maybe there's a compromise, but I don't see how. I mean, Google doesn't want the responsibility of making those decisions themselves. We watched Facebook struggling with this whole issue of like what to censor and what not. I mean, recently in the news has been like, oh yeah, just what was it? Pour Clorox over yourself and you won't get the coronavirus.
Yeah,
and,
right. They got to ban that.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to allow like fake health news from happening. So
it's a tough,
really
interesting. And we knew this. This is the culture clash that we knew a global internet would offer. And the answer is not to just say, well, everybody has to be like us, right? But I don't know what the solution is. Especially, you're right. The technological solution is very challenging. But remember, we said that about the right to be forgotten. How hard is that going to be to implement, right?
Yeah.